I feel that LABA7 products bring to my business is they allow me to provide 100% satisfaction to my customers. And for me, that has absolutely no price. The capabilities and the amount of information that I can get as a suspension tuner with a shock dyno from LABA7 is absolutely staggering. It definitely improved and accelerated my learning curve as a suspension tuner, for sure.
For Luis, LABA7 is not just equipment, it is certainty. He uses it as a process to diagnose, build the setup on real data, and confirm the result before it goes back to the rider.
Hello, my name is Luis Peixoto, and I'm the person behind Steps to Podium. Steps to Podium started out as a simple YouTube channel where I explained the engineering behind dirt bikes with a special focus on suspensions. It eventually grew to also provide suspension maintenance, revalves, and also diagnostics through my workshop, and also to provide suspension trainings not only to the weekend warriors but also to pro athletes and B2B. The biggest challenge that I had before using LABA7 equipment was knowing exactly how would the suspensions come from my customers, so I didn't know how they were in terms of setup, and it was really hard, for example, to understand which spring rates the suspensions had. It was really hard to then give a proper setup or at least with a very good reliability to make sure that the customer would be satisfied and happy with the setup, or at least the foundation of the setup was right. Usually when I get a full set of suspensions from a customer, the first thing that I do is put the damping system on the LIGHT Shock Dyno, just to understand if there is any issue that I can already identify prior to disassembling them. Then I take the springs to the spring rate tester to understand if it's the right spring rate for the customer. I use the daily vacuum bleed pump on the damping systems when it's possible, of course, and at the end I use again the LIGHT Shock Dyno to confirm that all the work that was done, whether if it's a simple service, whether it's a revalve, to understand if the work was properly done, specifically with the spring rate tester. That was the most important equipment that I got to make sure that my customers were getting the right setup.
When Luis talks about which LABA7 product made the biggest impression, he points to one machine.
Definitely the LIGHT Shock Dyno. Not only because of during the service I use it before and after, but also for the revalves. Sometimes it's an iterative process and you have to do it more than once or twice. They have definitely made my workflow more efficient. And not only that, it eliminates the human error from the equation, because once you have machines that do things exactly the same way every time, they're not sleepy, they are not tired, or they didn't just woke up, and so it's a lot easier to make sure that your work is done with a reliability that at the end of the day it's the customer that will benefit from it. For having the LIGHT Shock Dyno, I couldn't do a diagnostic on the damping system without taking it apart. So from the moment that I can put it on a machine, run a test and check if everything's okay or not, that allows me to run a diagnostics even if the customer wants to do something or not.
He expected the tech to be complicated. Instead, the whole experience, from setup to daily use, was straightforward, with support behind it.
The experience was amazing. They really care about giving a good service and really explaining things properly for people to really take the most out of the machine. I was very surprised with the interface and how easy it is to use the product. With such specific and complex topic as suspension, I was expecting a software that could be a bit hard to understand how to use and how to take the most out of it.
Luis built his name in dirt bikes, and more recently he has been working with mountain bikes as well. With LABA7, switching from Moto to MTB testing feels seamless.
So it ended up being super easy to use, and to develop that knowledge base for the bicycle industry, it was a really good surprise because it helped me a lot in focusing on what really mattered.
So would Luis recommend LABA7 equipment to others?
Well, I already have recommended a bunch of people to use LABA7 tools and products because it's simply super easy to use. The price is competitive compared to other options. The adapters are super easy to use. The software is super easy to use as well. And overall, again, it's suspensions, and these machines are made for suspensions. And I can really vouch for them because I use it constantly, not only for my workshop, specifically for my customers, but also to produce content. I'm always putting the machines up to their paces, and truth be told, they are incredibly reliable. I haven't had any issue since I've owned the machines, and that speaks a lot because I really put them to the test. Most of the times I even have to discover the limits of the machines for the content that I produce because I need to see where it goes. There's also another detail that makes a much bigger difference in my opinion than anything else, which is the kind of support and also content that they have to understand how to use the machines. The thing that makes me realize is that it's an endless world, this thing about suspensions, and when you have the right equipment, such as the Shock Dyno, the sky's the limit.